If you know the physics of how the bow works with the string, then it's easy to make a great sound. And here's the shortest answer I can come up with. The bow speed must match the string speed. First, let's review. When we bow the string, the sticky bow pulls the string to the side until the sticky is not enough to keep pulling, and then it slips back the other direction. And then, like a spring, it comes back with the bow, and we call this slip and pull. Rinse and repeat. But it's a little more complicated than that because we're asking the string to vibrate freely while we're sitting a bow on top of it. So the trick is to match the speed of the bow to the speed of the string so the string can vibrate as though there's no bow there. Bow too fast or bow too slow, and you kill that motion. But this is also where it can get a little bit more complicated because you see, the string vibrates the same number of times every second. That's the definition of the pitch, A440 times per second. But at the fingerboard, it's moving much further side to side than it is at the bridge. And this moving further actually means the string is moving faster at the fingerboard than it is the bridge. And we have to constantly adapt our bow speed to the speed of the string based on the placement of the bow on the string. That's because the bow speed must match the string speed. Now we're just getting started with this, so check out the next video. So yeah, the cello string is moving at different speeds along the string, and that has everything to do with how we move the bow to make a great sound. So what is speed? Well, speed is moving further or less far in the same amount of time, like you getting up from where you are and running to your front door in 10 seconds versus you running to the street in front of your house in 10 seconds. To get to the street, you're going to have to move a lot faster because it's a further distance over the same amount of time. When we play low C, we know that the string is vibrating about 65 times per second. And that is actually the definition of C. When your tuner is detecting C, it's detecting sound waves and it measures them over 1 second. How many times does it vibrate back and forth? 65 times equals low C. But look how far it moves each of the 65 times up here at the fingerboard. It's much further than down here as you get closer and closer to the bridge. And moving further during the same amount of time means it's moving much faster. So because the speed of the bow must match the speed of the string, you have to move the bow very fast at the fingerboard and slower as you move towards the bridge. But you can get a great sound everywhere. But it's also why you might get an ugly sound if you move the bow too slow towards the fingerboard or too fast towards the bridge. Although most people have a problem of moving the bow too far back and too slow. Next, I'm going to show you an exercise to practice this. So if you've been following along, now you know why maybe some wonderful people can still make some terrible sounds. It doesn't really matter if you're bowing from the floor or your back or the hips or your legs, if you're not matching the speed of the bow to the speed of the string. So let's talk about how to practice this because, of course, knowing is great, but you've got to make it a habit. So the first thing to do is to put your metronome at 80. And we're going to bow half notes using the whole bow every time. If you're new to this, remember to use the whole bow. Start at the bridge, right on it. Of course, it will be Ponticello. That's the point. The bow will feel like it's just skating on top of the string. Next, take like 10 seconds to slowly pull the bow backwards towards the fingerboard, millimeter by millimeter, until almost suddenly the bow speed matches the string speed and the whole string will start vibrating. And you'll feel friction and you'll have a beautiful tone. This is the magic spot where great players live. If you continue slowly back, you'll notice your sound getting lower and lower in quality, more and more grainy as you mess up the motion of the string and make everyone who ever loved you sadder and sadder. So now what happens if you put the metronome at 40 and bow slower, or much faster and put the metronome at 180? The magic spot's going to move, but where? More to come. Now that we've explored how to match the speed of the bow to the speed of the string, let's play around with different bow speeds and see how that affects where on the string we should be. If I hold bow half notes at quarter note equals 40, I'm going to have a pretty slow bow, which of course means I'm going to be pretty close to the bridge. But you have to learn exactly where the bow should go, down to the millimeter. I like to think of finding the magic spot like standing on the edge of a cliff. The magic spot is right at the edge of the cliff. Last video, we started right at the bridge And that makes Ponticello, which of course we don't really want to use very much. So that's kind of like we walked right off the edge of the cliff and are floating in midair. And then almost suddenly, as we move back from Ponticello towards the magic spot, our feet hit solid ground and we're in the magic spot. Where the speed of the bow matches the speed of the string. But going from the other direction is not always as clear. You could be way back from the edge of the cliff, but not really know it. It's sadly what happens to a lot of people. Well, you have to learn to feel and hear it. You have to play whole bow half-note scales very slowly all the way up to very quickly to learn to feel and find that magic spot. With experience, when you're at the edge of the cliff, you'll start to feel that you can't push any more without falling off.